10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2,
Manchester
1,
United have
0.
reached the promised land.
Good morning, everybody. How are we doing? It is Tuesday, the 1st of February. The January transfer window is officially closed. Manchester United did not make any signings. Now, if you've watched it already, I did my immediate reaction after that window closed last night. You can get my thoughts on that. But this video this morning, this is the interactive live morning stream. It's your chance to have your say on that window. There was a lot of reason to be frustrated. There is a lot of reason to be frustrated. And we'll chat through all of that. I'm going to come, not with a bit of positivity, but there's a great article from Carl Anker this morning, one of the writers for The Athletic. And I'm going to use that as sort of the basis for a lot of our chat and conversations, because there's some really good talking points he raises that we need to discuss. I'm also then going to speak about the goddamn brilliant news, right? Ed Woodward has left Manchester United, all right? Now, that is a reason to put a big smile on your face. Woodward has left his role. Richard Arnold is now the official, I don't know what his role is now. Is he CEO? Who cares? Woodward is gone. We'll discuss that. Going to be discussing John Murtough. Going to be discussing a lot of things that we need to discuss going forward, because, as I said, there were definitely quite a few reasons inside that window to be positive about what we did, but there's a lot of reasons to not be positive about what didn't happen. So I'm going to head down to the comments throughout this entire stream. You know the drill by now. I think what I might do as well towards the end of the stream, I might invite a couple of you on to have a quick chat with me. As I said, I want to try and make these more interactive as we go on. Oh, you're damn right. Ding Dong, the witch is indeed dead. Dorothy is singing. Is it Dorothy? It is Dorothy. Good morning to all of you. I can see Craig Williams watching. Ozzy, good morning. Anuj, Peter, Alex. Got Damo watching the whole way from Okinawa. How you doing, Damien? Nice to see you there, buddy. But look, let's talk about everything that's happened during this transfer. What's the overall feeling you've got, eh? Are you happy that we've now got a trimmed squad? Anthony Martial has gone to Sevilla. Donny van der Beek, we're going to get to watch him play Premier League football. Amad Diallo's gone to Rangers. And after they signed Darren Ramsey, it seems like Rangers are going to be a bit on the up. It's going to be a good place to be. I'm excited, really excited about that Amad move to Rangers. Hopefully we get to see him, I think, in the Old Firm. I think the Old Firm's tomorrow. Fingers crossed. You can see by the title of the video that I've said that Ralf Rangnick wasn't trusted. That's something that I do feel after that Lingard situation, which we'll get into, because something went amiss, right? And I think I'm going to start with this point, actually. I didn't think I would, but I will start with this point. I understand here, right, that we've got an interim manager, okay? When you've got an interim manager, you don't really know what the future holds. You don't know what's coming next. But I'll tell you what you do have at the club, is this man. We employed John Murtough as our first director of football. And his job is to be the continuation point between managers. His job is to make sure that what happened between Solskjaer and Rangnick was making sure that Manchester United went on the same path. His job after Rangnick and whoever comes in next is to make sure that Manchester United continue on that same path. And Ralf is going to step up into a consultancy role and do that alongside him. So you can talk all you want about the fact that Manchester United couldn't really make any signings in the January transfer window because they don't know what's coming next. It is quite literally John Murtough's job to know what is coming next. So I think you're going to be looking at that saying that Manchester United really don't actually know what's coming next. We haven't properly made a decision on what is happening, whether it's going to be Ten Hag, whether it's going to be Pochettino. So the 1st of February, I don't really think United have really spoken about it that much. I'm going to go down and read a few of your comments out here. As I said, I said my piece yesterday on the windows, a little 10-minute video. If you haven't checked it out, please have a look on United People's TV and on the Facebook page as well. It's my immediate. It was my sort of immediate reaction, which I don't tend to do really, but I felt like that wasn't really a reaction off the back of 31 days in the transfer window. It's the back of 5 years now. It's been since we signed a proper defensive midfielder. Andrew, you think that the window showed a lack of ambition for the club and the top four is at risk? I mean, nobody will argue with that, surely. The top four absolutely is at risk. The Glazers will soon see that not investing in the long run because that Champions League money won't be coming in next season. I'm not going to sit here and say Manchester United will not finish in the top four categorically. On paper, we've still got an excellent squad. I do think the fact that we've got a trimmed down squad will actually help Ralf Rangnick. Some people kept saying that, you'd rather keep Martial. What if you get injuries to X, Y, Z? And I said, look, there comes a time when the strength in depth of your squad becomes a weakness because you've just got unhappy players that a manager has to try and manage at the same time as managing the players he wants to use every week. I think Martial fell into that category. I think Donny van de Beek fell into that category because we did him a disservice. He didn't get enough opportunities in the Premier League. He got plenty of game time elsewhere. Honestly, like in the last couple of years, he had probably played more games than you think, but not in the games that he wanted to play. So therefore, he wouldn't have been a positive influence in the dressing room. I'm not saying he would be causing issues, but it would have been a side story that Ralf would have had to manage. And Amad Diallo, he would have been out on loan already if it wasn't for that injury. He would have been at final for the rest of the season. So that's why I was really pissed off about the Lingard situation. I'm going to get into that in a bit more depth, but I've no doubt that there were positives from this window. So what we're going to do now, we're going to head down here and we're going to run through this article from Carl Anker on The Athletic and the talking points that it raises, because there's a lot of really good talking points that we should discuss here this morning. T, nice to see you back here, buddy. Saying I called at the start of the window. We overcommitted with Ronaldo last window. Now we have to pull back. And it certainly felt like a pullback from United. That's what this window really did feel like. And Carl goes into that in a good bit of depth. He explains it quite well. So let's read this article together and the main points. I've highlighted quite the key points here. And I think that this sentence here, I think sums it all up. I don't know why I keep losing my voice, man. I'm telling you, I've still got this COVID on me. Fucking annoying. Sorry about that. I swore. Oh, well. I'm sure we can get over it. Anyway, this is what Carl says. He says, overall, United have had a reasonable transfer window relative to the dysfunction that engulfs the football club. And I'll tell you what, that's such a spot-on sentence there from Carl. Because look, if I'm looking at positives here, Telemengi, he's going out and he's going to get regular time at Birmingham. I think that's a good loan move. Axel Tuanzebe, I don't know what's going on with Axel's career anymore, but I also think that's a good loan move. Ethan Laird, I'm very happy about. We called him back from Swansea and we've sent him out to Bournemouth, who are chasing that top two finish inside the Championship. I think that's an excellent move for him. And I think, is that where Nat Phillips just went on loan as well? And he's probably a better defender than most people give him credit for. So he was playing in that defense. Good. Okay. Reece Devine, Walsall loan. I don't know much about that. It's like Matej Kovar, the young goalkeepers. He was sent out on loan yesterday as well. But Donny van de Beek to Everton on loan is a move I'm happy with. For sure, I'm happy with it. I want to see what happens. I hope that he can progress and improve under Frank Lampard. And I think he will. And then we go down here. We see Amad Diallo at Rangers. Again, I can see a lot of positives in that move. Scored 5 minutes into his debut. It's likely that he's probably going to start the Old Firm tomorrow away at Celtic Park with no away fans. Hell of an atmosphere. He'll learn from that. He'll definitely improve. Todd Cantwell's also gone to Bournemouth. Yep, good point. And Anthony Martial to Sevilla. Again, Sevilla chasing their first La Liga title in 76 years. Currently second behind Real Madrid. Martial's going to be a big part of that. I'm looking forward to seeing those loan moves. And all of them make for quite reasonable, positive talking points. Of course they do. But it's the way I describe it is like it's part of the idiot sandwich. If that's in the middle, the idiot sandwich is everything that United did on top. That was a good clap. You know, sometimes when a clap just makes that good sound, that's one of them. So yeah, Carl went on to say there, logistically speaking, United had an okay transfer window in terms of what happened with Ralf coming in, X, Y, Z. And this point, I don't think anybody's ever argued against this. The chances of Manchester United landing a Jude Bellingham, a Declan Rice, or an Amadou Haidara were always slim. And I think that's probably where the issues lie. That's where the issues lie, because I don't think any United fan went into this transfer window. Nobody was having a conversation about Jude Bellingham. Nobody was having a conversation about Declan Rice. And the only reason that Amadou Haidara popped up as a conversation was because we thought that Ralf was going to stay true to his 4-2-2 and wouldn't use any other formation. We've now gone to a 4-3-3. I understand that system doesn't necessarily suit Amadou Haidara, and that's why we didn't go after him. But nobody was really expecting or asking us to go after a £100 million plus central midfielder in Jude Bellingham. Probably a £100 million plus central midfielder in Declan Rice. We weren't really having that conversation. We were having a conversation about low risk, low price, squad building signings, because this is the thing that Manchester United have to do, right? For years and years and years, we've operated a Galactico policy. We've paid big money for big signings. And if you look at Harry Maguire, if you look at Aaron Wan-Bissaka, if you're looking at Cristiano Ronaldo, maybe not big money, but big wages for sure. Rafael Varane, Jadon Sancho. We're looking at big, on paper, first team signings. They're the only signings really we've been making. Rarely do Manchester United go out and go, you know what? That player there, whoever it may be, Dennis Akari is just still stuck in my head. But whoever that player may be, I tell you what, he might not be a first team player for us every single week. He might not be that big marquee name. But in terms of the overall improvement of this squad, I can see where the benefit of having him lies. And it's at a relatively cheap price point by comparison. And that's what United didn't do in the January transfer window. And that's what United haven't done for a long time. And that's what needs to change. Obviously, we're moving away from this Woodward desperate. Look, if you watch my my interview with David Lyons, it was a really good interview, genuinely. And I know it was my content, so I'm going to say it was good. But if you watch that interview that I did with David Lyons, who is the author of that book there, the latest Sir Alex Ferguson autobiography, he was explaining that Woodward was desperate. Desperate is the word you would use with Woodward, and not in a good sense. And by desperate, I mean the fact that he didn't want to wait for Manchester United to go through another cycle and be successful again. He wanted it right goddamn now under his watch. He wanted to win the Premier League more than Manchester United maybe did. And that's why we were so desperate. That's why we were buying all these big players to win it right now. And that's why Mourinho came in to win it right now. And that mentality and that strategy has blown our club apart. Completely blown our club apart. And we're still trying to pick the pieces up. And Rangnick is the man that's trusted in doing that. But I just saw this opportunity in January to start shifting away from that mentality, to start shifting away from the fact that if we don't get that £100 million Declan Rice, no other midfielder can do a job for us. That's just wrong. And we know it's wrong. And I know that you should always go out and get your top targets. But Man United, we need a squad to win the Champions League and the Premier League. Was that all about Cole and York? No, it wasn't. We had Sheringham and Solskjaer. Was that all about Scholes and Keane? No, Butt started in the final. You need a squad if you're going to compete across multiple competitions, and that's what United are getting towards. So while Declan Rice would come in and solve that problem in the sense of our first team, our squad will still be weak in terms of the depth there. And that's where I think United could have taken it. And that's what I'm talking about when I say this bloke needed to be more vocal. It should have been him explaining that to the club, that we're moving away from that Ed Woodward mentality. And we have, because he's gone. Goodbye. Never come back. And he should have been explaining that there could have been some signings that we made that got us towards that took us a step further towards that. It wouldn't have been your Declan Rices or your Jude Bellinghams or the top marquee signings that maybe transform the quality of our first team to compete with Man City. But this January was an opportunity for Manchester United to improve the quality of our overall squad so that we didn't get 2 out of 10 performances randomly against Norwich, that we got a more balanced level, that every single week we had like a 5 or a 6 out of 10 performance. And that's why there were failures in the January transfer window. That was a bit of a rant, wasn't it? How many years are United away from a Premier League title? I have no idea. I really have no idea. Sorry, I still sound so bunged up. It is ridiculous. I'm so bored of it. Give me my voice back, man. Seriously. Unbelievable, Jeff. Also, what's this? Apple and mango juice. Didn't you know? Well, it's not actually apple and mango juice. I've lost my water bottle. Don't know where it is. I'll find it at some point. Let me go down here and see what you're all saying. Greek saying, we need a new right winger. No. We all know. I've mentioned this quite a few times. I'll say it again. Please don't anybody sort of get into a conversation about the Mason Greenwood situation down in the comments. The latest factual update on that. Nike have suspended their partnership with Mason Greenwood. Manchester United have removed all Mason Greenwood merchandise from the online store whilst this investigation is still pending. That is all we know at the moment. And when there are official updates, we will have conversations about it. But that is it. Gary, you think we're 5 years off a title? I'm not sure how far we are off the title, but I suppose we can have that conversation a little bit further down the line. All I'm focusing on right now is getting into this top four because it changes the whole scope of everything we do in the summer. It changes the whole scope of everybody of who comes in. It's one of the most significant top four races that we've had in a long time because this next manager who comes in should be the manager, right? On paper, and I've said this before, right? But this should be the manager that comes in and stays for 3 to 4 years. This next manager should be the point that where Rangnick goes upstairs, when Manchester United have had our transitions, we've had our Van Gaals and our Moyes and our Mourinho's, and Solskjaer tried it, but we all knew ultimately he was probably going to fall short. This next manager who comes in should be the manager who has the quality, who has the temperament, and the right mentality for Manchester United to be here for the next few years. That's why getting into a top four this year, if we don't get into the top four and we do get Ten Hag, you just got to put a pause on everything for a year. You've got to put a pause on everything for a year in terms of the Champions League. You can buy the quality players you want for the Premier League, but maybe you won't be able to get them with the Champions League. Let me go down here and read a few options. Read a few comments. It's because you had the word option in it. You know, you read a word sometimes and it just comes out. That's exactly what happened there. Stephen saying, why couldn't we get a CDM on loan with an option to buy? If you look all around Europe, there really were very few big, major, permanent deals. Two off the top of my head, Luis Diaz to Liverpool for around 45 million. At the moment, it's not a big deal, but Dele Alli to Everton might be a big deal. It's free at the moment, and I think it rises to like 10, 15 mil after 20 games, and it could go up to 35 million depending on how successful they are. But there really weren't that many. There really weren't that many, huge, big signings in January. And that's not what United fans are asking for. I just think we had a massive opportunity to improve the overall squad quality and balance of our midfield, which we decided to completely and utterly overlook. Let's go back and let's continue reading this article from Carl Anker, because as I said, there's some more key points that he raises in it. Let's scroll down and see what he's saying. Strategically speaking, and this is what we've just had a discussion about there, Manchester United appeared to have moved away from an all-in, win-now approach to squad building and onto another transitional phase. Yay, United are in transition again. How many times have we been saying that? Ole Gunnar Solskjaer spoke about developing the layer by layer akin to the redecoration of a house. And this analogy I wanted to bring to you because I want to sort of flip it a little bit. United, under the Norwegian successor Rangnick, are in the early phases of spring cleaning, where items are strewn around the place before being organized later. Now, that I do think is a fair analogy to use, but my counter analogy would be this. Say you just moved into a new house and you need a sofa, but you go to order, because this is exactly what happened to my friend. Moved into a new house, really excited, wanted his new sofa, put an order in. Sofa's not going to be with you for 4 months. Shit. So he had a camp chair. So he sat on a camp chair for a little bit. He went around his house and he had to sit in a camp chair. And I was like, well, it wasn't just me. Everyone was like, why have you got a camp chair? He goes, my sofa's not coming for 4 months. I'm like, why don't you just go on Facebook Marketplace and just get like a cheap, you can just get a sofa. You can probably get a sofa for free, actually. Lo and behold, 2 days later, he gets a sofa for free. And instead of sitting on a camp chair for 4 months, he's sitting on a sofa that he just gives away for free at the end. That's what United have right now. We're waiting until the summer before we get our nice new sofa, our nice new central midfielder. And instead of moving away from sitting on 2 camp chairs and getting a temporary, maybe short-term fix in a nice cheaper sofa from Facebook Marketplace, or, a nice cheaper midfielder that there were plenty of those available, we decided to keep sitting on these camp chairs. And that's what Manchester United are doing now. We've pinned our season, completely pinned our season on Scott McTominay having an absolute barnstormer of a few months, nailing that central defensive midfield role, not getting injured. And I think, A, that's foolish, reckless, and B, fucking unfair. Scott McTominay is not a defensive midfielder. He will do a job. And so many people like to hate on Scott McTominay. I genuinely think he doesn't get enough praise for what he. Yeah, no, I'm a real big fan of Scott McTominay as in a squad role at Manchester United. I understand the frustrations when people have to watch him week in, week out, and that's what we've now got. All of our hopes this season now are pinned on Scott McTominay smashing that number 6 role. If this 4-3-3 formation is going to stick from Ralf Rangnick, which I think it will, and as I've said, we're one injury to McTominay away from propping Matic in that role. And as soon as Matic goes in there, there simply is not the energy inside that role in his legs to cover the position he needs to. And it's very strange. It's odd that United have taken this sort of risk, this sort of stance, when I believe there were definitely opportunities to change that in this January transfer window. And that, for me, is the ultimate frustration I have. Let me head down to the comments and see what you're saying here. Maybe United is keeping the money, says Ivan, for the new manager to prove the owners have got his back. I don't think signing a squad improving midfielder in January would have changed that, in my opinion. You didn't have to go out and spend 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 million. I think there were good midfielders available for less than 20 million. And that's something United could have done and should have done. Lamin saying United have not signed will not sign a midfielder until they get rid of Pogba. I think they're two very different things, my friend. I don't think us signing a holding midfielder is in any way, shape, or form linked to us selling Paul Pogba. So Sumya, you're saying I've been disappointed so many times on mental health getting affected. It's the same cycle. New manager, new hope, bad form, bad signings, bad form, manager sacked, repeat. Well, welcome to the therapy room this morning. Everybody's invited. You're all invited. Because there are frustrations. I'm sorry I keep sniffing, but I'm so bunged up. I don't know where it's come from. I just want to get rid of it. Like Woodward. Get out of me. Boom. I'm sure it'll go tomorrow. Maybe to be fair, it was a long day yesterday. Not much sleep. But people are talking about Frank Kessie in the comments. Frank Kessie, the rumours are that he doesn't want to leave Italy. He wants to go to Inter Milan or Juventus. And I think that's probably what's going to be the case. But Frank Kessie is one that could have been available if we wanted him. He wasn't really a defensive midfielder, but in terms of the options we've got, would he have improved our squad? Yes, sirree. He would have improved our squad. And you're saying we could have got Basuma 50 million. What will his price be in the summer when there is a lack of players available, 70 or 80 million? I'm not sure how much, if I'm being completely honest. But I don't think United would have spent 50 million. And I understand, not that I support it, but I understand why United would not have spent that much money in January on a midfielder that may not have suited the next manager coming in. But I do not, and I will not support the idea that there was not a midfielder that United could have signed in January that would have improved our squad between now and the end of the season, and maybe have been the difference between us getting into the top 4 or not. I'm not saying that top 4 is impossible, right? Because you're looking at the table, United have got, of course, we've got a chance. Absolutely got a chance. And especially if Chelsea get dragged into a top 4 race, it means there's 2 spots available and we're not just chasing that 4th position. But I would say odds are against us. I would say Spurs have got a better chance, and I would say that Chelsea have got a better chance. So we are chasing that 4th spot with Spurs, really, in my opinion. Let's go down here and let's read a bit more. The optimistic reading, and this is where I can say, that's why I said it's an idiot sandwich. There were positives in the middle, but I think it was surrounded by missed opportunity, and we've spoken about that there. The optimistic reading is to say United focused on trimming the squad and reducing the number of possible distractions for Rangnick. The Athletic reported last month that he was training with as many as 26 players and is said to have found motivating them all difficult at times. And that's what I said about the positives. And that's why I always said I didn't want Anthony Martial at the club anymore. if he didn't want to be at the club, he didn't want to play for Manchester United, it suits Manchester United more to let him go. And now he's gone to Sevilla. Distraction, gone. Donny van der Beek, he wants to play regular football. We're not giving it to him. Gone to Everton. In the Premier League, he'll play regular football. Gone. Amad Diallo, I don't think he was much of a distraction. Amad Diallo was somebody who, just unfortunate for him, he had injuries. Otherwise, he would have played. Certainly more. But then we got Jesse Lingard, right? This Lingard situation, for me, I'd say it's the second most frustrating thing in this window behind not signing a central midfielder. And that's the situation that unfolded with Lingard. Where do you stand on this? Carl is saying, keep an eye on the playing future of Lingard. He's only 5 months remaining on his contract and could see an increase in game time following the departures of Martial, Van der Beek and Amad, and with the Greenwood situation going on. What's your stance on everything that unfolded with Lingard? Because for me, that's where I did this title from. That's where I said, look, I don't think Rangnick was trusted by the board, because Rangnick gave the green light. He gave the thumbs up to Lingard leaving. And he met him yesterday morning after the Greenwood situation unfolded, right? So he was okay with him leaving the squad. But Manchester United refused to accept Newcastle's offers and effectively undermined the manager by keeping him there. Do you think that Lingard, between now and the end of the season, what sort of Lingard do you expect to see? Honestly, let me know in the comments here. I need to know what you think here. Do you think that Lingard's going to sort of find that purple patch, have a great 4 or 5 months, smash it like he did on loan at West Ham? Or do you think Lingard's going to be sort of shoulders down, frustrated that he didn't get his move, doesn't really want to be at Manchester United? What sort of Jesse Lingard do you expect to see? You let me know in the comments, and I'll read a few of your comments out there. There's a couple of comments up here that I want to read out. Sumya saying thank you for reading the comments. As always, Sumya, I always try and read as many comments as possible. Should join as a member. I'll read your comments out always. I hate to use the new signing term, but it's probably like a new signing for Rangnick. I mean, you can hope so, right? You can absolutely hope so. Jonathan, you think that Lingard will play well if called upon? Lingard will be frustrated, though, says Misa. Lingard will certainly have more playing time. Judd, I mean, this was a convenient... Convenience is completely the wrong word to use there, but that for me, it sounds like an excuse that I don't think is completely and utterly true, because Ralf met with Lingard yesterday morning and gave his blessing. So if you're talking about if it was to do with the Greenwood situation, then Ralf would not have given it the green light yesterday morning after the Greenwood situation unfolded. So for United to blame it, to use that as the sole reason why he didn't leave, I don't think that's completely telling the truth. Just my opinion. Ninja Smurf, nice to see you this morning, buddy. I think it was a business call after Greenwood has gone. United see Lingard for their social media pool. I mean, you can really be cynical in that sense if you want to call it that. Lingard can only be a problem after this, says Josh. Not looking forward to a shit attitude for the next few months. I think that's a little bit harsh. I don't think Lingard can only be a problem at all, right? I think he could turn into that purple patch Jesse, and we need that. But we've now got... It's just such a weird, tough situation, because no matter where you look at Manchester United, the compromise is still there. Because on the one hand, right, I can talk about how I'm happy that Van der Beek left because he deserved regular game time and he wasn't going to be happy at Manchester United. So it's best not to have a player like that around. And on the other hand, you could argue, well, Sam, Paul Pogba's coming through and he's leaving the club in 4 to 5 months. And you want to rely on him to do the good, to put in good performances for Manchester United? I'd be like, kind of fair enough. Same thing could be said about Martial leaving and Lingard staying. Lingard, is he really going to put in the... It's just compromise. Everywhere's a compromise. So instead of having players at the club who are frustrated at their lack of game time and they don't know what their future at the club is and they've now gone out, instead we're going to be bringing players in and relying on players who are leaving the club on free transfers in 5-6 months. And whether or not they're going to come and be committed to this United cause. As I said, compromise no matter where you look inside this squad. And it's a consequence of bad management. It's a consequence of bad contracts being allowed to be run down, and Manchester United not going proactively enough. Or maybe we have been proactive, but he simply doesn't want to sign the contract. Or you're saying, I can understand why we didn't let him go to West Ham. That doesn't even need to be explained. West Ham are a top 4 rival this year. oh, we're not going to strengthen you. Simple as that. But the Newcastle situation for me really struck a chord because for me, it just seemed really, really greedy. And for me, it just seemed like Manchester United were. Sorry, John, not coughing on you there. I saw you comment. It seems like Manchester United simply didn't allow Jesse Lingard to go to Newcastle because of a couple of million. Not because the manager didn't want him or the manager did want him, but simply because of greed. And that is when the board goes against the manager. That's when the board undermines the manager. And that's something that we all have a big fear of. Ninja, thank you very much, buddy. Big up to you. As bullshit as it was to go against the manager, let's hope Lingard switches it on. It makes you think, though, do the board have the last say in the starting lineup? It's always a fear, isn't it, that any fan of any football club will have. How much influence does the owner and how much influence do the board have on that team? It's been a big reason why Chelsea's managers always fall out with Roman Abramovich. I don't think the Glazers are as hands-on as that. I think they're too fucking lazy, if I'm being completely honest. They're too busy sunning themselves out in Florida to actually focus on the day-to-day running of United. But they ultimately have the final decision. And with this Lingard situation, as I said, it struck me more that the thing that was more important to Manchester United was getting as much money back as possible that we failed to get for Lingard in the summer because we decided not to sell him, rather than listening to the manager saying, it's okay. I don't need Lingard in the squad. I'm happy with who I've got here. We can bring Hannibal through. He's more of a central attacking midfielder, but he did play on the wings for Tunisia at AFCON. So, I don't know. It depends which way you look at it. But the Lingard situation for me is really frustrating. And really, I think Ralf will be frustrated too. Gungshi, thank you very much for super chat here, buddy. Big up to you and big up to Smoke as well. And you're saying, I agree, Sam. We really screwed up on not buying a cheap sofa. Not getting a decent CDM could end up keeping us out of the top four. Glad though that Woodward is out and Donny is free to play actual football. Great comment there. And yeah, I don't think anybody really is going to argue with the fact that Manchester United not signing that central defensive midfielder just seems like it seems like a very unnecessary risk that United took there. A very big gamble with a massive, massive potential loss in not getting into the Champions League. Now, of course, as I said, we might end this season strongly. We might continue with the good form that we saw against West Ham. And fingers crossed we do. Got Bournemouth in the FA Cup on Friday. I'll have my predicted 11 for that out tomorrow. And we can start talking about football again. But I just don't know why United didn't go out and get that cheaper option when it was so obviously available to me. And yeah, I'm really excited. I tell you what, going to have to start doing some loan watches, really, aren't I? Going to start having to see how Van der Beek gets on at Everton, Ahmad at Rangers, and Martial at Sevilla. Maybe you can speak to some fans of there and see how they're playing week to week. Jonathan, I see you on Facebook here, sir. Saying United are scared of Newcastle's wealth and see them as challengers for Champions League places if they don't go down. Good, give them nothing and hope they are relegated. Now, part of me completely agrees with that. Absolutely. And I think that must have been a big part of the conversation as well. The greed of it all, the fact that they wanted to get as much money back for them. But ultimately, with the Lingard situation, Manchester United would have recouped around about 8.2 to 8.5 million pounds for Lingard, who we're losing on a free. On a free in a few months' time. Chris saying Borough, not Bournemouth. Sorry, did I say Bournemouth? I just got Bournemouth in head because of Ethan Laird. Borough, Middlesbrough on Friday night at Old Trafford. Was it 8:15 kickoff? Let's go down here and let's read a few more of the comments. DeWard, you're saying he undermined the manager, weakened the team, upset the players and unsettled the dressing room. One thing I would say about Glazers out, and I'll always support a Glazers out conversation. Let's make sure that we don't just have the Glazers out conversation on Tuesday, the 1st of February, because we're all pissed off we didn't make signings. The Glazers out conversation is something that has to happen consistently throughout. And it's like, for example, take that interview that I did with David Lyons. That was a really in-depth, fascinating, in my opinion, it was quite a fascinating interview. Lots of insight into the Glazers and everything that's gone on. But because people weren't angry vocally and trending with the Glazers, it wasn't a piece of content that did anywhere near as well as I believe it should have done. And that's a bit of that's a shame. It's kind of true. It's kind of is what it is. But I wish that the conversations about the Glazers just never got muted. And I do try my hardest to cover them. But I suppose when you're playing football, every 3 days, it's really quite hard to have the time to step back and be able to do those sorts of content as well. Ninja Buddy, how you doing here? Thank you very much this morning for your support. Big fan. Also, I love your profile pic. Bald Keen. Bald Keen was the one. Keen with hair was good, but Bald Keen scared the crap out of me as a fan. Donny would have been better at going with Vieira. He would have got straight into that squad, but now Everton, they have a decent midfield already. I said this, Ninja, I think we kind of all did, in the fact that I felt that going to Crystal Palace and working under Patrick Vieira was a bit more of a stable environment, wasn't it, for Donny van der Beek? Playing alongside Gallagher, playing with Will Hughes, playing with Eze, playing with Zaha. Looking at the team, I think they're excited in the mid-table. Whereas you're going to Everton under a new manager in Frank Lampard, working underneath a board which is clashing against a rebelling fan base in a relegation battle. It is a very, very different type of loan spell for Donny van der Beek. I hope it still helps him thrive. I think it will be a very different situation to drop him in. And if he comes out the back of it a better player and avoids relegation, then he would have learned something that he didn't learn before. And even if he does get relegated, he will also have learned something that he didn't learn before. But I personally would have rather he went to Crystal Palace, but I'm still excited to see how he gets on at Everton. Let's go down here. Pushbin saying, where's the Ronaldo post that used to be on the wall behind you? Ronaldo's sitting over there with the rest of the collection. And Roy Keane, I'll keep Roy Keane for another week. I like Roy Keane. I'm not sure who's going up next, though. You can all let me know in the comments. I think I might put Rude up next. I love Rude. Craig, do you think we should have recalled James Garner for depth with our fixture list becoming packed? Again, that would have been a compromise. That would have been stunting the growth of James Garner with his successful loan spell out at Nottingham Forest, simply to come into our squad and just basically sit there in case Scott McTominay got injured. I think that would have been unfair. Let's go down here. Lee saying, I think it was Donny's choice. He didn't want to be too far away from his family or move them to London. This way, he's still closer. Now, that's a very fair point there. Obviously, Manchester's to Liverpool. There's a hop, skip, and jump across the river. Fair enough. Maybe that would be part of it. But Crystal Palace. I lived in Crystal Palace for, how long did I live there for? 5 years? 6 years? Man, I love that. Aaron, you're saying put Vidic up next. I think I might put Vidic. I'm not sure. We're going to have a vote on that. Who have we got? We've got Vidic. We've got Cantona. We've got Rude. We've got George Best. We've got Paul Scholes. We've got Ronaldo. I've got a whole bloody family. Jeez. Can't wait to put one up next. Let's head back. Look, as I said, I really enjoy these sorts of interactive shows. Your comments, your super chats, back and forth. It's good fun. I enjoy it. As I said, it's a bit of a therapy room today because I think there's a lot of bubbling frustration among United fans, and rightly so. As I said, because this was an opportunity for United to show a different side to themselves in the transfer market. I think for a long, long time, we've had a pure obsession with that name on number one on the list. And I think that was a bit of a shift because we went from like the Tommy gun, just who do you want? Schneiderlin, Schweinsteiger, Memphis, Di Maria, Blind, Herrera. Come on, Falcao, in you get. We went from that to focusing on key signings, on the top names in our list, and we went out and got them. You might not have agreed with it. We got Harry Maguire. We got Aaron Wan-Bissaka. We got Rafael Varane. We got Jadon Sancho eventually. So that was a bit of a shift. And now Manchester United are focusing purely on that. Whereas in reality, there has to be a blend between getting your top targets and at the same time, just improving the foundations of your squad. It's not always about the cherry on top. It's about the sponge. You need the sponge. I love a good sponge. Ian, you're in Croydon. Yeah, big up. Croydon. Got plenty of good mates that live there as well. Hell of a place. Also has a tram. Croydon has a tram. Always makes me, every time I walk through Croydon, I'm like, feels like Europe. Feels like a European away day. Right, let's head back to this article from Carl Anka. As I said, there's still some really good points here. And I think this one here, this is the crux of all the frustration that United fans have going into the rest of this season now. Tactically speaking, United remain caught between multiple modes of thought. We failed to sign a holding midfielder. Premier League rivals have strengthened and further solidified ongoing plans, while United have not. United have come to the end of a window with question marks over how to create a stable midfield for the rest of the season, and Paul Pogba's future remains up in the air. And that's it. That is it in a nutshell. That sums up why That sums up why United fans are really frustrated. All right, because we are watching Spurs starting to do something, starting to work towards things under Conte. We see what Tuchel has done at Chelsea, and we think, well, okay, they're heading somewhere. Liverpool signed Luis Diaz and brought forward their summer plans because they didn't want to lose that signing. And Man City, they didn't really need to do anything. They've already signed it. Actually, no, they didn't need to do anything. They got Julian Alvarez and loaned him back out to River Plate. Plans going forward. Manchester United, because we're in the situation now where we're stuck between an interim manager and a permanent manager we don't know who's going to be, the club just put the handbrake on and didn't look at anything to do with new signings. And that's the thing I think that staggered me the most about all of this. It's not the fact that we didn't sign Dennis Zakaria. It's not the fact that we didn't sign Amadou Haidara or Boubacar Kamara or Frank Kessie. It's the fact that we didn't even really go after any of them, did we? At no point during this January transfer window did it ever get past the point of speculation. Amadou Haidara, maybe that's as far as it got. But I can't believe that's the thing that sort of blew my mind, right? That United, quite simply put, just sat back and watched it all unfold without so much as even trying to go out and sign a defensive midfielder. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. That's a good comment. That's a perspirated eardrum. Do you mean perforated eardrum? But you can be a perspirated eardrum. I don't know why you're going to start sweating out your eardrum. How can you be a glory hunter and keep a straight face? It's disgusting. Which one of you has done a shite? It's disgusting. Big up to that video. Anyway, I'm not a glory hunter. I want what is best for Manchester United. I want some long-term planning. I want to see this long-term planning. I thought we'd started the long-term planning with everything that we did with Ralf Rangnick. I mean, you saw how excited I was when Ralf came in. But then the January transfer window, we were like this. We didn't know what to do. We were like that, and we stood still. We absolutely stood still. And I don't really think that we should have done that. And that, for me, is a bit of an indicator that this long-term planning maybe isn't as well thought out as maybe some of us thought it was. Craig Peterson, nice to see you here, buddy. How you doing? You stand by your own opinion? They are worried about how good Lingard is going to make Newcastle better, but what about Pogba and Pereira? Why stop all of the bad stuff but not have a plan B or C? Ooh. Well, that's Manchester United for you, right? Yeah, the Andreas Pereira ones, that's weird AF. Andreas Pereira, we received, what was it, £6.7 million bid from Flamengo for Pereira? We were like, nah, that's not enough. That's not enough. Mate, just get him out. Jeez, Andreas Pereira. My God. Pre-season Perlo. 6.7 million. Yes, please. Was there a comment up there that I missed? There was. Ninja. Thank you, Mo. Saying, I honestly want to get back to watching football now. This ball will never change, so bring on the game so we can get our minds off this toxic cycle. Ralf can't be blamed if we don't make the top four. I mean, Ralf will be blamed if we don't make the top four. That's the unfortunate reality of being a manager. If you're successful, it's your fault. If you're a failure, it's your fault. And as I've said before, Ninja, and I've said it to everybody, I've said it a few times on this stream, this Manchester United squad is still very, very capable, more than capable of finishing inside this top four. Bearing in mind, we went into this season thinking we're one player short of competing for the Premier League title. And it's the 1st of February, and we're all like, we're one player short of competing for that top four spot. Goes to show how bad the season's been, right? And you're saying Man City's owners saying we want to be the best in the world on and off the pitch. The Glazers' top four in the Champions League look good enough as long as the profits remain high. We all know that. We all know that is the ultimate truth. That's the ultimate oxymoron of Manchester United as a football club, and the fact that we're still getting pulled in two different directions. And I wouldn't say it's that the board are totally inept, Kevin. I would say it's just the board is wrong in their thought process. They're not totally inept as far as their aims and successes are, but they're different to what Manchester United's are. They're different to what our fans, our aims are as fans. Jonathan, what are you saying here, sir? Rice, Neves, Lamptey in the summer, out Pogba, Henderson, Pereira, Matic, Mata, Jones, Dibi, Martial. My God, how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, you're not going to get rid of that many. My word. But yeah, there's no. That's what I mean. I've said that. I'll say it one more time. I feel like I'm repeating myself now. There are positives in that window, man. All the loan spells, I pretty much agreed with. The Lingard one, I didn't agree with. The fact that it fell through. There were other things that we could have done in terms of trimming the squad a little bit more. But simply the fact that we've just overlooked that gaping hole. And I'm not looking forward to the fallout and the reaction when that McTominay injury kicks in. It could kick in at any point. He might get injured 10 minutes away to Atletico Madrid, and he's out of that game and then out of the return leg. Let's see what happens against Atletico Madrid if we don't have Scott McTominay playing like he did against West Ham. And he has to reach that level against West Ham as well, which we didn't feel he was really capable of in that role. Remember the Villarreal game? He blew us all away in that second half against Brentford. We were like, who the hell is this? Scott McTominay thriving in that role. And then West Ham, he was far more balanced and controlled. But doing it against Atletico Madrid, City and Liverpool, that is a different conversation altogether. And that's why Carl Anker's spot on here in saying that. That's why United fans are annoyed. The lack of signing a midfielder, other rivals have strengthened and their plans seem to be going forward, whereas Manchester United's plans, while it seems like the plan was there, Ralf Rangnick came in, we were like, we've got rid of Solskjaer, we've taken that decision. We've got Rangnick in not only on a 6-month managerial role, but on a 2-year consultancy plan. Shit, we've actually got a plan. I can see us going towards it now. And Ralf is the man who's steering it. You get to January, and instead of us continuing up on that plan, it's like we've parked the car to get the wheels replaced. We didn't even replace the wheels. We just got it washed. We didn't even get it washed. We just parked the car, slept overnight, and got back on the road. That's what Manchester United did in the January transfer window. We slept whilst others took a step further ahead. And now by the time football comes back on Friday, Man United's squad overall is weaker than when it went into the 1st of January. And therefore, it is a failure, that January transfer window. Gary, what are you saying over here, sir? Plenty of Garys on Facebook. Saying the same window we were going to buy the world, according to the idiot of this site who knows nothing about the club. He's good at guessing, and guessing Rod should stop reading the BBC Sport lies. Okie dokie. Gary's feeling very chipper this morning. Nobody said that anybody was going to sign the world. At no point did anybody say the world was being signed. But at every point, United's fans said there's opportunities in this window that United could do to take our club that little bit further forward. Instead, we've rested on it. We've slept on it, and other clubs have done that. Let's go down here. If United are to secure Champions League qualification, it will likely be achieved, I thought it was a very good point as well, through a high-scoring, transition-focused style of football, which is effectively the complete opposite of what Ralf Rangnick wants. Ralf Rangnick is somebody who wants to come in and have that element of control, proper element of control. Instead, I think Carl is right there. We're going to have to focus on high tempo, high scoring, quick passing, quick movements through the lines, being as quick as possible, because we won't have that control, not with the midfield that we have. I do not think anyway. Let's go down here and read the final couple of points in here. After numerous seasons hamstrung by haphazard and last-minute transfer moves, United appear to be waiting before making their next big decision, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I agree with, as long as they make the next decision right. And I think that's completely spot on. As I said, it really was quite an accurate and fair summary of that transfer window from Carl, because there's a lot of frustration from United fans. Of course, there are positives. We've spoken about the positives. I'm not here painting this window as an utter failure, but I do think it's a joke that we decided to sleep and rest on our laurels rather than moving forward. And I don't know why United decided to do that, other than the fact that they didn't trust Rangnick to continue what he's doing, or that they didn't have a plan enough to give money to Rangnick to continue that. Either way, it's not particularly good. So what I'll do now for the next couple of minutes, you keep firing your opinions in. Next couple of minutes, if there's anything you want to ask me that I haven't touched on this morning, you let me know. Or if there's anything else you want to say, you let me know in the comments, like Francois over on YouTube, what you hear saying here. I don't see it as a failure. I think we had to stop this idea of panic buying. Obviously, the new management team needs time to implement their vision and strategy. No buying willy-nilly. Excellent use of the word willy-nilly. Big fan. But Francois, I don't wholeheartedly agree with you, but I agree with you in part. But we switched away from the panic buying when Solskjaer came in. That's when we switched from the scattergun approach to the top tier approach. Main targets only. That's what we did under Solskjaer for a few years now. And this January transfer window and from the summer onwards has to be when Manchester United blend the two. It's not about focusing on panic buying or scattergun approach. It's not just about focusing on your top targets purely only. You have to go into a window with your top target, cool. But at the same time, you have to bolster your squad. It's not all just about the cherries on top, is it? It's about improving the quality in the middle as well, the depth that you have everywhere. Two £10 million players might sometimes be better than signing one £20 million player. And I don't think that is Manchester United's policy or thought process. And it hasn't been for a long time. And that's why I think we failed in this January transfer window. Yeah, Paddy, look, right. Honestly, you'd laugh. But literally, I think the rest of our season now relies on Scott McTominay learning how to become one of the Premier League's best number sixes in a position he doesn't really know, in a position he's learning on the job. And he's now going to be the scapegoat. Scott McTominay is going to be the scapegoat for the rest of the year. You mark my words. Any mistake he makes, boot him out of the team. You can't boot him out of the team. We didn't sign anybody. So the scoring is going to be going towards McTominay between now and the end of the season, whereas it should be going towards the club for not getting us the strength and quality there so that Scott McTominay was our number 2 instead of our number 1. That's going to piss me off. And that is why I will probably defend McTominay more between now and the end of the year than anything else. Because I can see that he's going to become the scapegoat when it's not his fault. Let's go down here and let's get there and let's block that person. Sorry, Gary. Gary Cox, you've been arguing too much, mate. You've been banned. Your fault. Let's go down here. Craig, do you think we slept on missing out and bringing Ndombele on loan to plug that CDM? I don't particularly think Ndombele is really a CDM. He's more of kind of similar to Van der Beek-ish, a bit more powerful, a bit more physically present than Van der Beek, but he's certainly more comfortable going forward than he is sitting in his own half. And I think that was a problem at Spurs, and it's why Spurs, it didn't really work out for him. Massively didn't work out for him, did it? Ian, you're saying Glazers do this all the time. They pacify fans with Rangnick, and they don't anymore. They would do with the Super League. Where's the talking to the fans? I mean, I've covered that in quite a bit of depth, and no doubt I will do more of it for sure. But yeah, we were told about this new fan share scheme. I'm not sure what's the latest on that situation is. We were told that there was going to be regular meetings between the Glazers and our fans. I'm not really sure that's ever really happened. It's odd. It's really odd. There's a lot more broken promises from the Glazers this year, just like there always has been, right? And it's just another one. Matt, you say need to wrap it up, Sam. John and I need to go, right? You two need to go, so I definitely will wrap it up. It's just convenient timing here that I will wrap it up. I will read a couple more comments out there because they're still flying in. Warren, Sam, do you think if it wasn't for the Super League fiasco, Woodward would still be here? I don't think so, but I'm not quite entirely sure. And I'll tell you what, I'm definitely ending on that note because I want to end on a happy note that this, and I will swear here, this motherfucker is gone. All right. I know that this was an overall pretty frustrating transfer window for Manchester United fans. We didn't get that central midfielder we knew could have boosted our hopes between now and the end of the season. But let's just be happy that Ed Woodward is gone. All right. That Ed Woodward saga is gone. The book has been closed. Now, the Richard Arnold chapter that's opening might not be that much better, but we're at the start of a new chapter, which is kind of unknown. And if he does step away from the footballing side of things and Ralf does go up into a new consultancy role and has a bit of influence, maybe we can look better going forward. And we certainly can't look any worse than what he did. He destroyed our football club. He replaced Sir Alex Ferguson, not David Moyes. And it was his narcissism and his desperation for him to win a Premier League to go to parties and say, oh, yeah, Man United won the Premier League under my watch because I signed these players. That desperation and that man is gone, all right? So let's finish on a happy note, and let's finish on that. But look, thank you very much for joining in today. I know it's been frustrating. If you would, please watch my video I did yesterday. Just a quick 10-minute video with my actual proper summary of my reaction to the window. I really enjoyed this interactive show this morning, as I always do. I'll be here tomorrow morning at 9:30. I might do another video later today. Not sure on what. I kind of want to do it on Woodward, but I don't really want to mention his name that much. So I'm unsure. I'll think about it. But thank you very much, everybody, for joining in. Matt and John, I hope you can go now and enjoy your day because I've finally ended. But thank you very much for joining in, everyone. Thank you very much, everybody. Gungshi, Ninja, Ian, all of your super chats. If you want to support the channel, please drop a like on the video. I'll see you soon. Take it easy. Window's done. Thank God.